push them hard. Oh man, careful of tomatoes. Yeah, you can do it however you feel comfortable. Okay? Would you like some help, sugar? Yeah, get those nasty weeds. Yeah. Yep. Yes, ma'am. That's a weed. And he's a weed. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I just want to say I appreciate you taking some time out of your day to join me on this little outside vlog that I'm doing today. It's been 3 weeks since I made a video. I was trying so hard to be consistent on posting at least a video every day, just kind of showing our progress and taking you guys along with us. But sickness got in the way. Our family got hit with a really nasty cold, not the cold that's been ravaging our world for the past 2 years, but just a nasty old bug, and it kicked my butt. You can maybe hear it in my nose, I'm still battling some head and sinus stuff. My ears are being weird, but I'm back on it today. I'm gonna try and post at least one video weekly and show you our progress. The whole point of this channel is to just encourage new gardeners, new animal growers, new everything. I mean, we're trying to homestead and live kind of like our grandparents did. So anybody that's interested in that way of life, my channel is just to encourage you that no matter your background, no matter where you come from, you can do it too. You can learn and you can grow. Just like me and my husband have been doing for the past 4 or 5 years, we've been actively doing this. So what we've got done is this entire garden that we, I think I showed the tilled version of it, but we have the garden and my husband built this gorgeous pergola. I have to show you guys, pergola entranceway. I'm gonna flip the camera around and I'll give you a little mini tour. Proximity of my house, the garden is just across the yard. And Anthony made this beautiful, beautiful pergola entranceway. I saw something off Pinterest and a couple Google pictures, and I'm like, babe, I love this. And oh, sorry, kitty boy. You can't be under my feet, brother. I'll step on you. I showed him the picture, and I said, I love the angles on the top. I don't know how hard that is. Can you do that? I like the multi-leveled rungs on the side for climbing. You know, climbing plants. I said, can you do that? We haven't finished the top pergola part yet. We've been in a rush, guys, to get this garden in. I feel way behind, but he said we can do the top later because it's a little more labor intensive, but we got the pergola slats to put on the top, and it matches the arch of that. And I wanted to plant clematis here, and so I did. I got some clematis from our local Menards. See, we don't even have a gate built yet. Right now we're just fencing this like this to keep the chickens and other critters out. I planted some purple clematis because I saw how gorgeous it looked climbing on other people's, fencing and pergolas and stuff like that. So he got that in, we cemented it, it's leveled. He super made sure it was leveled. If you don't know my husband, let me just tell you, he is very, very particular, like a skilled carpenter. He's all about measuring, and I suck at math, so I just let him do it. But, and then here in my whiskey barrel, Olivia, my now 3-year-old, planted sunflowers. And I'm sure they're way too close to each other, but you know, we're just going to let it go and see what it does. I'm going to see what God has in store for this barrel, because she loves the way that these are looking so far. I think they're going to get tall. I'll stake them up and whatnot. All that stuff. So I'll do the garden last. I'll do the little mini tour of that one. But we finally did get the backhoe back up and running, thankfully. Thank you, Lord. And we got these stumps pulled out. And we already used my father-in-law's tractor. He is awesome for borrowing us this stuff, or otherwise we'd be sunk. And we got some of the bigger stumps pulled out of there. We got the big, there used to be a big old light pole here. We pulled the light pole and we cut down the stump that was, I'll show you later, the stump that was next to the light pole, so it's kind of more open there. And this should give us a good scooch over to the cement base that will be the chicken run. So we'll just straight up pick up that chicken coop, scoot it over, and set it down right here in front of this cement wall. And hopefully we'll get that cleared up and show you what that looks like. As we come in, let me just get my gate here. Yeah. We're building the gate hopefully this weekend. And I started out with tomatoes. Now I showed you guys how sad my tomatoes looked, I believe. And they're actually doing pretty well, all things considering. And that soil that was kind of bad, that I put transplanted my seedlings into, these guys have started to take off and grow. So I got to come in and water this afternoon. These are aqua cones, and if you know anything about tomatoes, they don't like to go to sleep with their feet wet, meaning they're not real fond of being watered at night, and they don't like their leaves getting wet. So this is an aqua cone, and it's just got holes in it. The tip is cut off, and this essentially soaks all along the roots. And so I'm starting to collect those and use those. I've only got 3. My 4th one's in the garage. I'm going to set it up next to this one. So I'm going to try and water these through the aqua cones, or base water them, like right at the base of the soil around where they are. I'm not watering on the plant. The tomatoes don't like that. But I got to get in here and water these tomatoes really, really bad. They're starting to wilt. That's not good. And then I did have to end up getting some. Here, I'll scoop myself so I'm not the shadow. Some of these I did end up having to get from our local nursery. I'm very grateful that they still had a bunch of tomatoes. And so these are the ones, all these and all these are the ones that I planted from our local nursery. And then over here, these are my Cherokee purple. They're going to be cherry tomatoes. See how tiny they are, you guys? The soil stunted their growth. I showed you guys that, I believe. And so I just said, you know what? Lord, you take these plants over. And I stuck them in the ground. And I said, if they grow, they grow. If I don't get tomatoes till September, it is what it is at this point for cherry tomatoes. As long as I get my canning tomatoes going off to a good start, that's what matters for me. So that's those. The peppers, they were in the same boat as the tomatoes that I started with the bad soil stunting them, but they're actually starting to take off, you guys. There's some growth there. So they're looking rough, and I'm hoping in the next 2 weeks they'll start to really bounce. They'll get real nice. And then here's, whoops, not focusing. So here's another row. These ones were looking a lot better than those first row that I showed you. Here's where my carrots are going to be. I have not planted carrots, you guys. Carrots, zucchini, and yellow squash are the things I have not planted yet. So we got to come in and do that this weekend, which is fine because carrots like heat for germination. It's got to be at least 70-degree soil to get some good germination. This row is my peas. And I came in and I hand weeded all this last night and I watered it. So that's why it looks different. Everything that you're seeing here that's green is peas. And what I did was a square foot garden method. I'll show you my little tool at the end of the video. I see weeds coming up. Alright, man, those weeds grow quick. Because I just did this yesterday. But my peas are coming up. I got to get a similar trellis system like I got going on there here for my peas to trellis. and for my cucumbers, which is the next row. So I did the mound method. I got to come in and thin. I was giving them another week. Because see, I planted 2 in some sections. I'm going to thin them. And then get my other trellis put up here for these babies to climb. These are going to be for pickling and maybe some fresh eating. I'm not a big cucumber lover, but my kids do. So next row is beans. There's some beans. There's some beans. Beans, 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 beans. I used also a square foot gardening method here. And beans were planted 4 inches apart in a square. So boom, 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 boom. There's going to be 4 there. And they're bush style beans. I don't believe we planted any pole beans. And so that's this whole row, walkway, this whole row. Golly, that creeping, or prairie bindweed is the actual term for it right here. I hate that stuff. It's so invasive. If you have something that looks like that in your garden, get it out ASAP. Otherwise it will take over. That was my arch nemesis in that garden. It killed a lot. And next row is my broccoli and cabbage. Broccoli and cabbage. My husband planted this whole row. A huge shout out to my husband and my oldest daughter because they helped me plant. We got it all done in about 4 days. And then he did all the broccoli. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 broccoli plants. And then purple cabbage. My gosh, this is probably my favorite plant that I've ever started from seed and grown. It's just gorgeous. You can't really tell the deep, beautiful purple it's got on it from the video, but it's gorgeous. And then here is my green cabbage. I have never successfully grown cabbage, so I'm very excited to see what this season has in store. And then from here on to the end of the garden is all potatoes. We planted a ton of potatoes, and we planted them at their shortest distance apart, which is a foot. It's pretty darn close, but I'm hoping it doesn't bite me in the butt for yield. And they're starting to pop through really well. Over here, now we're starting to see a definite row because we planted this side first, my daughter and I, and then we popped over on this side. So over here we have the red. I got to come out here with the Sharpie and write. We have Redpontiacs growing here. These 2 rows are Redpontiacs. And then this row that's starting to begin to grow. Okay, we did get all this. All this is Redpontiac, this whole side. And then I had extra cabbages that I just could not let die because we had no more space for them. And I said, you know what? We have some space at the end of the garden. Let's throw them down there. And this is also where my zucchini and squash plants are going to be planted today. And then this side is all of more of a russet potato is what we planted on this side of the garden. So they're starting to pop through there. And that is our garden tour for spring / beginning of summer. You can't see a whole lot of green yet, but I'm hoping when we come back in August, everything's going to be thriving and big and beautiful and look like an actual garden. So right now it's just about maintenance, watering, weeding, clipping tomatoes up and making sure the peppers are all right and getting trellises built. So I'm hoping our work will be greatly rewarded with a great harvest this year. And then when harvest comes, I want to bring you guys with me into my kitchen and show you how I preserve some of this, or how I will be preserving some of this. But now it's time for me to get watering. When I was mowing the yard the other day, I came up this hill, and when I turned around and I saw our property, I knew I had to share this with you guys because this is just too good to be true. This is everything I dreamed of. Always dreamed of living in the country my whole life. And here it is. It's just beautiful to me. God's country is just, seeing his hand in everything is just incredible. That's the granary over there that we're going to try and drag between these fields and nestle here, kind of where these trees are. I haven't decided if we're going to bring it more my way, which is east, and put it here and keep the trees, or how we want to handle that one. But that might be a August project. That's all wet. It's very low land there. It's really wet because we've had a ton of rain. You can see some water over there. It's a little wet, so I wouldn't want to try and drag it right now. So it's probably going to be a spring or a fall, getting close to fall project. Here's a good little layout of our property. So our property is the edge of that field, basically up to that little frontage road, or excuse me, Prairie Road. Next to that field, that's not our field, but all that grass is our property. The burn pit starts there, and that kind of cuts our property this way, which all our goodies are up here. Little storage area, and then this is all our property as well. We got about 10 acres. So the garden, you can see there, this helps give you a little bit better visual on what we're working on here. This chicken coop situation is going to be scooted over here, and you cannot see it, but I promise you there is a cement border perimeter that was the old chicken coop at the time when the previous owner lived here many years ago, and we tore that down because it had collapsed. There's that well, the water well right there. We still got to see if that exists and works. And so, oh girl, you just popped out of that tall grass. And so we're scooching that over. The garden will be right there. So I'm going to do a nice compost pile of, you know, kitchen scraps and the bedding from our chicken, you know, when we clean out the coop, and try and get a good compost pile running so that I can amend my garden in the fall. And it'll just kind of work, because if I can get my garden cleaned up and then make sure there's nothing in there like tomatoes and potatoes, the foliage on that is very toxic to chickens. And so I'm going to make sure all that's cleaned up real well. And then in the fall, I'm just going to let the ladies, I'm going to get a little makeshift tunnel. I'm going to run it from their chicken coop to the garden, and I'm going to let them forage the garden every day and kind of till it up and fertilize it for me once I'm done with my growing season. So that part right there is going to be that berry patch in my backyard that I showed you guys a couple videos ago, or last video. So that has not even been touched yet. We've been purely focused on getting our annual vegetable garden in, because that is where our focus is lying right now. My husband said something kind of funny. It was either him or my mother-in-law mentioned how it was kind of ironic that that was the old chicken coop, and now there's going to be a chicken coop there again. And then over here, there was a big, beautiful barn. It got knocked down, and it was gone before my husband and I moved here. But there was a big, beautiful barn right here, and now we're going to try and make another barn in that same location. So it's kind of cool how history is kind of repeating itself on our property. But I just wanted to give you guys this beautiful aerial view of our farm. Well, kind of aerial. We're on a hill. But I get blessed to be able to look at this while I mow. One thing I had not shown you guys yet, I don't believe, is where I'm beginning my orchard. And last year I planted 2 Honeycrisp and 2 Golden Delicious apple trees. And the ones that made it were the Honeycrisp, and I had 2, which are the Golden Delicious, that did not make it through the winter. They actually were dying by fall. And honestly, I think that's from my poor watering. I didn't water it as well as I should have, but that is happening over here. This is our driveway. Across the driveway is this pretty open area. That's the main road. And so I'm going to try and fill this with edible kinds of trees. Anything I can grow here, I'm going to try and plant here. I just did order 2 new Golden Delicious, because they have to be able to cross-pollinate in order to bear fruit with each other. So gotta get those planted if I ever want fruit from these guys. But they're looking good. They have grown exponentially from last year. This is their 2nd year. And then I got to get up here. I didn't want to, gosh, I don't know. I need to get them in the ground, but I also don't want to plant when it's going to be 100 degrees. I had my other ones here and there. And then this has kept the deer out. It's just cheap plastic deer fence that we got some T-posts from my father-in-law to make a makeshift shelter for these things so they don't get gnawed on by the deer, because we get a lot of deer around here. But this is my orchard, you guys. I'm super excited. I want to get it planted. I wish I had all the money in the world to buy all the trees in the world and get them planted, but it doesn't work that way. Just a little bit at a time. What was that? Check it out. A little mushroom. Pretty sweet. This is our tree area we got to clean out. Lots to do. Lots to do, right, kitty boy? All right, as promised, here is the square foot garden tool that I use for my peas and my beans. So my peas, you see the spacing here. The red is where you're going to space your peas. I believe it's 2, 3, and 4 inches. Yep, we're going to go with that. Pretty sure that's what it was. So I planted all my peas at this spacing, and then I planted all my beans at the blue spacing because beans needed room to grow, especially since they're bush beans. They're going to bush really well. And so all we did was take this and smash it, wiggle it, and smash it down in the soil so that the soil is even with your holes. And then this fancy tool tells you how deep in inches you are making your holes. It also has a handy little seed scooper if you got smaller seeds that you're doing. But yeah, we just use this and we go boop, 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 and so on and so forth, and made those holes. And so what I did for the peas is I made all the holes, and then my daughter, my oldest daughter, came behind me and filled in with peas in each hole. She put 1 pea in each hole, covered it back up. She did the beans with the blue all by herself. All the beans that were done are 100% Autumn. So you rock, Autumn. Thank you. It's a really neat tool. Not super expensive on Amazon. See, I'll show you how it kind of... Come on, Amanda. There you go. That's how deep you put your peas, and then you just pull it up, and there's your hole. But I'll link it below. It is an affiliate link, but I will link it below in case you guys wanted to check it out or order it. I highly recommend this. We wanted to get the best yield that we could out of the rows. If you do raised beds, you can do your entire bed with this method, and that gets you a ton more yield. Here's my little book area. This is the Backyard Homestead. I'll link that book below as well, if I can get it out of here. Oh, I just dumped all my books. But this book is so full of information. I mean, you look on an acre, a quarter of an acre, excuse me. Here's what you can harvest potentially. So, you know, city ordinances may not let you have pigs, but as far as berries and maybe chickens, not roosters, highly recommend this book. I've not read the whole thing, but I've read quite a bit of it, and referenced it when I grow. Highly recommend. Magellan does too, right, buddy? Do you want to go outside? Okay, we're done. I'll link these all below. I just want to thank you guys again for sitting with me through this video and following us on our journey. And I just want to really encourage you guys to get out there and plant. Plant anything that you can. And if you can't preserve it or don't know how to preserve it, we will find a way. I will help you. Just reach out to me. What do you see, Sheena? Wonder if the mail's getting delivered. But yeah, just get out there and plant. You can do it. You can most definitely do it. And with these uncertain times in our world right now, and hearing of all the different shortages that we're going to be going through and are going through, it's just totally worth it to take the time and learn. And that's what I've tried to do as much as I can in my spare time. It's a sacrifice. It is. It really is. And in my opinion, it's completely worth it. It's been one of the greatest blessings and the most fun that I've had in learning and watching things grow and just doing it. If you live, you know, in an urban setting and you're not quite in the country, there's plenty of things that you can do to grow your food, whether it's in containers, whether it's, you know, instead of trying to mow that lawn and fertilize it and get all the dandelions out of there, rent a tiller from your local hardware store, till up some land. Even if you can't plant this year, it'd be a good idea to start breaking your land. And there's ways that you can do that. without having to use a tiller. We got some thick, super thick, heavy duty, like, I want to say like landscaping fabric, but it's not a fabric, it's plastic. And it's black, because you want the black to heat up the soil. So what you can do is get some of that off Amazon or your local hardware store, and then get it, you know, you square off your garden space, kind of like my poor husband and I spent 2 nights doing. Took us forever to square it off. Forever! And just square off your garden space, throw that black plastic down on the ground. Now, if you're not going to plant this year, aim to plant next year. And you can prepare your soil and space without needing a tiller at this point. There's plenty of videos out there that explain it better than I do because they've done it. I've never done it. I was going to, but we did this instead. We just tilled as quick as we could, threw it in the ground, and we're working the weeds out as we go. But if you say wanted this space to be your garden space, you lay it down, stake that plastic in the ground, and let the heat from the summer cook that grass and cook all the weed and the seed and the yuck, get it all dead, and then let it overwinter, which I don't know, depends on where you live. You may get snow, you may not. It'll handle through the snow. And then once the snow melts and you can get there and get to your space that you're preparing, you peel up that black plastic, everything will be dead underneath. And the next thing you can do, it's totally how you want to run it. You can either buy compost or get it from a local farmer that you know does organic. Make sure things aren't sprayed and chemical filled, and then just layer a beautiful layer of compost on there. Work it in, you know, you can work it in with a tiller, or you can work it in with by hand. It's however you want to do it. And then in that springtime, let it sit for a little while, and then you can start planting, and you'll have a gorgeous garden space that's fertile as can be. And sorry, I'm getting distracted here. Nope, not for me. And then you'll have space to grow, and it's not something that you have to start growing right now. It'll give you time to prepare, it'll give you time to learn, it'll give you time to even start your own seeds next year if that's what you want to do. But getting to be at a self-reliant state is the best insurance policy you could ever give yourself, no matter what happens in the world. If tomorrow everything turned around and things were looking great, we'd still have some really awesome homegrown food that we'd still enjoy. We're going to get meat birds here in the next couple weeks, and we're still going to have beautiful homegrown meat in our freezer. It doesn't matter the state of the world, but the state of the world certainly does help drive what we're doing right now. So let it be motivation for you too to get that going for your family. It's totally worth it. It's a family affair. It's teaching your kids. It's getting them pulled out from behind the TVs, from behind the phones. And I'm not judging or preaching. I am 100% guilty of letting the kids run on electronics all day long. It's not just you. It's not just other moms. It's just the culture that we're in. And I'm trying to shift that culture for myself and my kids, and have them experience this, have them experience the beauty and the growth that happens in a garden, and watching the circle of life with your farm animals and being a part of your meals that you grow. It's such an empowering and wonderful feeling to stick that food on the table that you grew, that you butchered yourself, that you preserved, that you cooked from scratch, and now you're serving it to your family. You know what was put into that food, and you know what it's doing for your body. It's not going to harm it like some of the stuff, you know, these days can. And you sit on your chair and eat that supper, and you're overwhelmingly proud of what you've done and how hard you've worked, and knowing that you're feeding your family the best that's out there because you grew it with your bare hands. And I just encourage everybody to experience that, or to at least learn about it. That's the first step, is learning. So come with me as I do this, and I encourage you to seek out other channels that are teaching how to do this stuff too, because I'm a novice. I'm here purely for entertainment and for encouragement, because that's what I want for you guys too. So like, comment, subscribe, share. I'm going to be doing this weekly. I'm going to commit to it. No more excuses, no more sickness. And this is what it's going to be all summer, working with me. I appreciate you guys. You have a great day.